Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Icon here. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Esports Analysis. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down all the storylines, all the bracket, all the matchups for day 2 of CDL Dallas. So, before we get into this one, man, there were some storylines. I don't really talk on drama all that much or storylines or stuff like that. I really just talk about the matches and how they end up and the breakdowns and analysis and stuff like that. But towards the end, I might touch on a little bit of that stuff because I feel like there's some things that we just want to talk about, including Call of Duty's response on Twitter to Florida. I felt like it was a little bit off base. And then also the Gorillas in the last match ended up getting forfeited, and we'll talk about that one as well. But with that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at our bracket. This is what I had for my guesses or for my picks for day 1, and your boy was right on all of them. So Ultra beat Florida, Dallas beat LAG in Group A. In Group B, Paris beat Seattle, and Chicago beat Rocker. So I was 4 for 4 throughout the day. I feel like this went a lot of how I kind of predicted it to be. So as we go ahead and get into day 2, these matchups will take us all the way through semifinals. So we'll do losers bracket, semis, winners bracket final up at the top in pool play, and then losers bracket finals for each of the groups, and that'll get us set straight for the semifinals for day 3. So when we're talking about day 2, let's talk about our matchups. I'm going to start over here. And by the way, a couple people in my comments said they wanted the bracket bigger. So hopefully this is a little bit better. I guess I could make it a tiny bit bigger, but hopefully it's easier to see now. But even with that, let's go ahead. Let's talk about Group A. So I'm going to start with the losers bracket here between LAG and Florida. And I was, believe it or not, I was really impressed with how LAG performed overall against Dallas. Even though they ended up getting forfeited out, I really felt like that was a game that they could have won. And that last hard point they could have won, right? They were right there. If Illy doesn't make an insane play, that's a 2-2 ball game and it's going to map 5. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to advance LAG. I think that they played really well today. I'm interested to see if they do the same thing tomorrow. Oops, let me go ahead and let's move this so that way we can keep track of who was where. And then the next part of Group A is going to be that winners bracket final. So whoever wins between Toronto and Dallas is going to move on to the semis, and whoever loses is going to set up a matchup with LAG. So for me personally, I feel like Dallas is playing really well. Yes, they could have been beaten, and even though Toronto had a pretty impressive day, a pretty impressive win over Florida, there's not too much stock that I really put into that. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and say Dallas is going to be our first team into the semifinals. I think they're going to be 2-0. They're going to win they're going to be 2-0 over the course of group play. They're going to be the first team in, which is going to put Toronto in a matchup against LAG. And again, I don't know what it is. Even though they played well, they 6-0'd Florida in the first search and destroy. And then they narrowly kind of won the second hard point, and then they won the search 6-3. So even though Toronto played well, right? It's not like they did anything wrong. I feel strong about LAG. I feel strong about their young guns. I think their roster is coming together. And had it not been for a couple unfortunate circumstances, they probably, I don't know. I don't want to say probably, but they had every chance to beat Dallas. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put LAG through. So LAG is going to go down to the bottom. And essentially what this is the winner from Group A is going to play the loser from Group B, and the winner from Group A is going to play the loser from Group B. So the two teams that I have making it out of Group A is going to be Dallas on the winner side and LAG on the loser side. So there's Group A. Let's go ahead and let's set up Group B. Let's talk it through and get us set. The other two teams that I think are going to advance out. We'll go ahead. We'll talk about the losers bracket again. And immediately, I'm not even going to think twice about it. I think Rocker is going to go through. Even though they got 3-0'd against Chicago, that matchup was 250 to 239. They lost the hardpoint by 11. They lost the search and destroy by 1. And they lost the Dom by 7. So all 3 of those matchups were literally neck and neck, right? Any of those maps could have went either way. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Minnesota through. And again, Seattle had a strong showing also, right? That went basically all the way up until the end. So it's not anything that Seattle did poorly. I just feel like Rocker was right there with Chicago in all of those matchups, so that's why I went ahead and then put them through. If there's one that I think I could potentially get wrong, it might be that one. I don't know. I'm confident with putting Rocker through there, but I don't want to go ahead and say I'm overconfident with that one. So Seattle, who knows? They could surprise some people. The next matchup, we'll talk about the winners final here in Group B between Chicago and Paris. And with that one, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Chicago through, although I will – what am I doing? So Chicago's going to win, so they're going to be put through over here. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to put them in the winners bracket. So, again, the winners from Group B is going to play the losers from Group A, so that's going to be a Chicago versus LAG semi. And getting back to that matchup between Chicago and Paris – this is one where I have seen these teams scrim a lot recently. They've scrimmed like 3 times in the last week or somewhere in that range. So a lot of those maps have gone both ways. Now, it will be dedicated servers. We'll see how that affects everybody. But I don't know. I feel comfortable putting Chicago through, which is going to put Paris into our losers final here for Group B. And again, this is a matchup that we've seen pretty often, and this is one that's kind of difficult to predict. Now, if this was on land, I would say that this is going to be a Rocker victory. Let's go ahead and put them through. I think they're definitely a better team overall on land than Paris, although I do think that Paris is somewhere, at least when it was on land, in that 5, 6, 7 range when it comes to power rankings. So this is a matchup that I'm really stifled on. I don't know. I feel like this could be a coin flip, right? I could see ways in which both teams win. I could see Minnesota easily taking the respawns. I could see Paris taking the searches. Maybe this goes to a round or a map 5, round 11. I don't know. I just don't see that. I think it'll probably be 3-1. I think Minnesota will win the Dom and the 2 hardpoints. I think Paris will probably win the search. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to put Minnesota through. So to round out our bracket for today, I have from Group A, winners going 2-0, Dallas. They're going to put them through. Then LAG fighting through the losers bracket to get through. So that'll put Dallas and LAG through on Group A. And then Group B, again, same thing. I have Chicago going 2-0, getting through that winners bracket, and then being put up in the semifinals. And then with that, I have Rocker fighting through the losers bracket and them being the second team out. So our semifinal matchup, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, is going to be Dallas versus Minnesota and Chicago versus LAG. Is this potentially setting up another Dallas and Chicago matchup? This time it'll be online. It might be a little bit different. We'll see what happens when it comes to day 3. We will break these matchups down and we'll talk about who I think the winner is going to be. That'll be uploaded tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But last thing, I just want to touch on this very quickly. At one point in time, Florida, they lost the map. They got smoked. They put out a tweet that said, "I don't want to talk about it." Just kind of, all right, we got spanked. I don't want to talk about it. And then the Call of Duty League Twitter account, the actual Call of Duty League Twitter account, replied to them with a broom and like the little like beat up face. And that is rough for me. I don't know. I love Call of Duty so much, especially the competitive scene. I've kind of been talking and playing and just following it for the last 10, 11, 12 years, ever since it really existed. And it seems like, I don't know, I want it to be more professional. I want it to be more professional. And I just couldn't see this happening in like the NBA or the NFL or the MLB or soccer or whatever. I couldn't see an actual league replying to a team kind of taunting them. I don't know. It just seems a little bit off base for me. I I don't know. I don't like it. I want it to be more professional. And sure, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's not the most egregious thing I've ever seen. I just think it's a bad look overall. I just wish that they would just stay out of that. Let the teams tweet. Now, if teams and players want to smack talking back and forth and joke around, that's something different because those are orgs. But when it comes to stuff like that, just leave it, okay? Just leave it between the teams. Don't say stuff like that. And then the other storyline I wanted to touch on was LAG. So essentially what happened is LAG had somebody lag out in the domination matchup against Dallas. And then because that happened, another player from LAG quit out. So if this was just a scrim, right, somebody dropped their connection, so another person would leave, and then that would tell the host, let's go ahead and let's quit the map, let's replay this. But since this is an official ruling and an official matchup, they ruled that since somebody left, that was a forfeit. And that's a terrible look. I could see if somebody just was angry and just rage quit and that was it and they left, but somebody dropped a connection, and then because of that somebody else from LAG left just to kind of let the host know, hey, somebody dropped, let's back out of this, let's go ahead, let's start this, let's run it again. And I don't know, I guess I can see both sides of it, because what's the league supposed to do? Obviously the right thing to do would just be to replay the map, but then you could say, well, some team was up by this much. It was this late into the match. How do we get back into this? And how do we ensure our integrity, the integrity of the league and the match and stuff like that? So I don't know. In my view, that probably should have been replayed, but it's done and it's happened, and there's not really much that we could do about it now. It is what it is. So there you have the storylines. There you have my bracket, my predictions heading into Day 2 of the CDL. I was 4 for 4. I was right on every matchup at the end of Day 1. Let's hope that my predictions are just as spot on as we get into Day 2. So any comments, please? I loved reading the comments from my Day 1 video. If you have anything to say, if your predictions are different than mine or whatever, put them down in the comments below. I look forward to reading that sort of stuff. If you're new around here, this is the first time that you've checked out my channel, make sure you go ahead and you hit that subscribe button. I'll put out another video 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, Eastern Standard Time. That way you guys will have my predictions for who I think is going to win based on how Day 2 goes. And with that, guys, thank you so much. Please leave a like before you head on your way, and I will catch you in tomorrow's upload.